Hello, welcome back to the Off-Grid family. Today I'm going to be covering our kitchen chairs. These chairs get really messy very quickly. You know, if we have barbecue, they come outside with us and the dog jumps up on them only when they're outside. We don't let her on them when we're inside, but you know, they get mud on them, they get muck on them, all sorts. So I just change the covers every now and again, and it's a couple of minutes job and it's super simple. So I'd like to just show you how I do it. Before we get on, I'd just like to say thank you so much to Paul and David, my patrons. You guys really are inspiring me to get more and more content out and get it done and etc. And I really do appreciate it. If you'd like to be a patron, we've got loads of perks over there, early access, behind the scenes, that kind of thing. So just head on over, all the links are in the description if you're interested. Anyway, let's get on. Okay, for this you're going to need a staple gun with staples that are shorter than the actual piece of wood you're shooting into, because you do not want to sit on a staple. A screwdriver, pair of scissors that will cut materials. Now I do have some material scissors, but they are quite hard to get to, so they're staying where they are. And then a quick unpick. I'm not sure what it's called all over the rest of the world, but a quick unpick is just basically a little hooked thing that cuts stitches. You can just use a pair of scissors as well, but I'm going to use this. Okay, this is the material she wants me to cover the seats with. Now, I do not think this is going to last very long. I actually think this is going to actually start getting holes in it very quickly. But the boss has asked for this, and that's what she will get. And I will happily recover it with something else if I'm correct and it doesn't work. But we covered it with some material a while back, and literally it was like 2 days, and it started to fray everywhere, and it was a pain in the butt. But it doesn't matter. It's such a quick, simple process that covering it with something and then having to recover it, it doesn't really matter. And it's nice to change every once in a while. As I said in the intro, these seats get absolutely covered in stuff. Lily loves playing with slime, and that tends to get everywhere. So does the paints that she uses. And we're quite comfortable with mess in our house, as in not mess and not clutter, but if a kid gets paint down on the chair, we're not bothered. We just recover it. You know, we like our kids to be able to mess about with stuff. We often do potting plants and stuff on the kitchen table. Mud gets everywhere. We clean it up. It's not a big deal. So these chairs always get muddy. Always get covered in stuff, because we take them out in the garden when we're having like barbecues. They get covered in stuff. So we just change the covers. Job's good, you know. Anyway, I'm gonna have to turn this inside out. And start unpicking it, and I will try and show you the unpicking process, but it's very small. There's some really tiny, the little white line there right in the center is what you got to pick, and you just go along the whole thing. So I will try and show you, but it's going to be quite difficult. Okay, that took about 5 minutes to do each piece. There's 2 per obviously cushion cover. So I've just got 1 more to do, and I will be able to start covering the chairs. Okay, so there are 4 separate pieces for 4 chairs. Obviously, if you've got more chairs, do more pieces. But I've just noticed these are so different in size. So I might actually have to cut another one of these up to get the right size. This one back here might be a little small, but who knows? It doesn't matter. If not, it just means that I've got another set to cover the chairs again with, if we like it, and obviously if they don't fray completely. Right, let's go get the chairs. Okay, so this is the type of chair we're going to sort out today, and obviously it looks all, you know, well used. This is only about 2 months old, the cover, but as I say, it's used out in the garden and all sorts, and that little rascal jumps up on them sometimes. So let's sort it out. Okay, we're at the underside of this chair now, and as you can see, we've got 4 different Z connectors, I believe they're called, and basically all we need to do is unscrew them. They don't need to be unscrewed all the way, we just need to loosen them off so that we can actually move these round. I'm going to completely remove them, well, I will completely remove them eventually because I need to actually change the screws, but we'll just get them so that we can take these off quickly. This is a good opportunity to be able to wipe down the chair as well, so that you can wipe the whole chair down. I give it a good clean each time. Right, now off. You may be able to tell how many times we've changed this already, because of the amount of different jobbies on it. And I don't actually remove them, I just keep putting new ones on. As I say, I'm going to remove this whole lot now, because I'm actually changing these screws today. These ones are quite old now, so we'll remove it all. It does actually make changing the covers easier if they're out of the way as well. Okay, next what you want to do is lay out your cloth. Now remember, if it's something like this, you want to have it going the same way for all of them. So don't have this going this way for the first one you do and the rest going this way. You won't forgive yourself. And I'm not talking from past experience so far. Now I've mentioned it. Yeah, we won't go there. Okay. Now again, as I said, I'm not going to be removing the old stuff. I'm just leaving it there. And what I'm going to do, because of I think this is going to fray quite easily, I'm actually going to fold this, and I'm actually going to staple it down with a part of it folded to make sure it doesn't fray as quickly. So what I'm going to do first, like they do in canvas restoration, put one in the center of each side. So one there, turn it round. Now another thing you want to do, especially with a pattern like this, is keep it straight. So try and keep the pattern as straight as possible. I'm going to fold this even though it had a fold in it, and that is just to make it a little bit easier. There you go. Right, I'm going to pull it as tight as, not as tight as I can, but I'm going to give it some tension. I'm actually going to check this, so I'm going to hold it. Yeah, that looks nice. And we're going to staple it. Okay, next we're going to turn it. Again, trying to keep it all as straight as possible. Now I'm not going to pull the sides too tight, so we don't want to make the lines go all wonky. Okay, once again I am going to fold this over and just put one in the center here. Put one in the center. Now, when I turn this over, it's going to look okay-ish, but we're going to have wonky parts. And what I'm going to do slowly over the next few minutes is, as I tighten it on the sides, I'm going to make sure I'm giving it equal tension either side and slowly straighten it up. It won't be completely straight lines, but it will do. But I'm going to start at the top and the bottom, just because it doesn't matter how much tension I put there, it's not going to make the lines any wonkier. So one there, and one there. Now this side, because this is the opposite side to there, I want to now give it a little bit more tension. So I'm going to pull it quite tight. And then this side, pull it, give it a bit of tension. Now let's have a look. Now always check as you go along. Do not just assume you've done it right. Keep checking and make sure, because you don't want to put in 5 staples and then have to start pulling them out, because number one, you might ruin the fabric depending on what you're using, and number two, it's just a pain. Right, now I'm going to give tension to the, let's say, top right hand corner and clip it in. Now I'm going to turn it. I'm going to do the same to this corner here. So we're now in opposite of where we were. Give it a good bit of tension. but this has come unfolded. Okay, and then have a look. Yep, so that, although it's not completely straight, it's not straight. We're looking for about this half here. This hasn't been done yet. So now again, we come along. I'll show you what to do with these corners in a minute as well. So we pulled down. Well, that one hasn't gone in very well. Put another one there in a minute. Now again, pull in the opposite side the best you can. And there you go. It's not perfectly straight. In fact, this looks a bit wonky, but we can sort that out in a minute if we need to. But what I want to do now is give it a bit of reinforcement and then cut off the excess. Okay, with the corners, I take a big chunk off first, making sure there's still plenty of bits here. I remove some of this excess because you actually can't have too much excess, because otherwise you won't get the actual seat back into the place, into where it's supposed to be. Now what I do is I tuck this side under, this side over, and give it a staple. But I will remove a little bit more, so hang on. Okay, take that in and under, that in and up. And now, again, I'm going to remove a little bit of this excess. And then we can staple and staple. And that is that corner done. I will put a couple more in just to give it a little bit less of a frill on it. But we're going to do all the other corners quickly. Now, this one, I've gone a bit too far. I've got a bit too mad. But it doesn't matter, because you can do the same thing. You fold over, and you fold it under. And you can't really go wrong with this. It's one of those things that if you make a mistake, you can, as long as it's not, you haven't gone too far, and suddenly you haven't got enough to cover the actual cushion, you're okay. But as I said, you know, I've got two more of these cushion covers, so it means I can cover these all once more. So if I did make a horrendous mistake, I could just unpick this hole and I could start again. I wouldn't want to do that, but it's possible. Okay, now we can start chopping off bits that we don't want. The more we can chop off, the better, because it will fit better into the chair again. But I'm now going to go round and just give it a little bit more tension if possible. And another staple. Now I've done this again. I literally do this every single time. It's only at about this point that I blink and notice again. But I've covered up the hole, and I literally do that nearly every time. Not every time. I will give myself a couple of times I've not. But basically, all you need to do is, what I do is I literally just cut out a corner, cut out a triangle out of it, and then I staple the triangle like around the edges of the triangle, so that you've got somewhere to put the screw still, but you can still have tension there. But I'm glad I remembered at this point, because normally I've actually covered up all of them by this point. So, you know, it doesn't matter how many times I do it, because I just don't learn from my past mistakes, you see. Okay, so there is our newly covered chair seat cover thing, Okay, now what we need to do is put it back in the chair, and I'll show you how to do that now. Right, start off by turning it upside down. And, well, the way I'm having to do this, it's going to have to be this way around. And plonk your chair on top of it. Now on my one, there is a block of wood here, which has to be squished in and down. Give me 20 minutes. There you go. I'll squish it in a minute once we get it lined up a bit. Okay, now what we need to do, we get our little Z clippy doohas and we plonk them in. And as I say, I've got a new set of screws for this. Now this part is a bit of a pain, but it's purely because I'm lazy and don't take off the other layers. So actually every time I do it, it gets a little harder to do, and then I do give up and I take off some layers next time, and so on and so on. That is why there's not all the layers I've ever covered this with. But yeah, it does become a little challenging. Okay, now to get this to sort of sit right, what I need to do is just put each one of these in a little bit to hold the Z clamp in place. Z clip, clamp, whatever. I'll get it down to a certain point, and then I'll come to the next one and just do it like this. Still managed to get bits in this one. The worst thing to do when trying to re-screw these back in is find that you've got like a piece of the material that's just a tiny little bit that's gone down the screw hole, and you're fighting against that. As I say, don't do them up tight, just get them in the right place, screw them in. Now in an ideal world, getting someone to sit on this while you then screw them in properly would be the best way to do this, and not be recording it, because recording it is going to be 10,000 times harder. But I'm going to try and do that for you guys. Right, basically now just come round, holding it tight if you can, screwing them up bit by bit. What happens sometimes is after a little while, your material gets flattened, the underside material gets flattened, and some of these might twang out, and basically you just turn it upside down and do it again, as in screw them in again. Basically it's just loosened off over time where people have been sitting in it. Sitting on it, I mean. As you can see, I'm putting a bit of pressure on it and screwing it down, coming around, pressure down, screwing it around, and basically that will get it to a point where the seat is on as tight as it can go for now, until, as I say, you've squished down the material a little more. But there we go. A whole brand new looking chair, and basically this cost me, I think the covers I got from a charity shop for 50p for all of them, and then a couple of staples, so literally it's cost me about 50p, and that will be to do all of them, not just this one. Okay, so this is what they look like now. Obviously the lines aren't straight. Oi, get out of my shot, you. Oi, what are you doing? Yeah, little pumpy. Right, yeah, sorry. So, yeah, this was the really, really small one, and it's the best I could do. It's very wobbly, but it doesn't matter. It adds character. So there they are done. Okay, so there you go. Very, very simple. You know, barely any tools needed, and you can do it yourself. All chairs are slightly different, but they're all of the same sort of thing. So just have a look, and it's more about confidence. Just give it a go. You know, there's very little you can break on them. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.